Okay guys, we're going to review the branches of government that we've talked about earlier in the week. I'm just going to pick out a few important pieces of information from the text, and then we're going to look at a chart that's going to help us remember who makes up each branch of government, where they work, and what important jobs each branch of the government is responsible for doing. If you remember, the three branches of government are the legislative branch, which make the laws, raise and collect taxes to help fund the government, the executive branch, which enforces or carries out the laws. Remember, the executive branch is also the commander-in-chief of the military, and he also is a representative for our country to other countries in the world. And then the judicial branch is made up of judges in the courts that help make sure that laws are fair. So down here in this section of text, we're going to be learning about the legislative branch, which, if you remember, is made up of Congress. Congress has two parts, the Senate and the House of Representatives. All the people of the Senate and the House of Representatives are people that we have elected and chosen to be our representatives to go to Washington, D.C. and help make important decisions for our country, okay? Congress meets in a building called the United States Capitol. This is the Capitol building. That's what it looks like, okay? So what does Congress do, okay? Congress, they can raise and collect taxes. This tax money is important because it's used to fund or pay for the government to do their jobs and to work. Congress also makes laws for the country, okay? Some laws are for safety. Other laws may make sure that all people are treated fairly. But Congress, the House and the Senate, are the people in our government that start with an idea. They take their idea and they write what's called a bill. And then they have to take the bill and present it to everybody in Congress, like in this picture over here. And once the bill's heard by everyone, they take a vote. And everyone in Congress votes on if they think the bill is something that's good for our country, that we should pass into law. If they don't think it's a good idea, if they think it shouldn't become law, they're going to vote against the bill. Okay, so those are some of the important jobs that the legislative branch does. Okay, next, the executive branch. The executive branch's job is to carry out laws. So the new laws created by the legislative branch, it's the executive branch's job to kind of give the final approval for the laws and to make sure that they are enforced or carried out. This branch is headed by the President of the United States. Okay, and we know that all the voters in the nation get to elect the President. The President's jobs are important, and some of his jobs include he has to sign bills before they become law. So once a bill is passed through Congress, if all the people in Congress vote that the bill should become law, the bill goes to the President next. And if the President agrees with Congress that it's a good choice for the citizens of the United States, he signs the bill and it becomes a law. However, if the President does not agree with a bill, he can veto it or reject it, which means it doesn't actually become law. In that case, it would have to go back to Congress, and they would have to vote on the law again before it can they have to vote on the bill again before it becomes law. The President is also in charge of the military. Okay, it means he's the commander-in-chief. So it means he leads the Army, the Navy, the Marines, and the Air Force. So that means the President makes all the important decisions about our military and what military actions that we take, and what the military is doing to protect our freedom, as well as maybe helping other countries and other places of the world. And last but not least, the President is our representative to other countries. He travels to other parts of the world and meets with other leaders from other countries, and they work together to try to solve problems that affect everybody in the world, not just the United States. The President gets to choose a cabinet, which is a group of advisors or people that he really trusts to make wise decisions, and he chooses this cabinet or this group of advisors to help him make important decisions. They give him advice, and they just help him make good decisions as president. So that's the executive branch. In the executive branch, okay, the president does his job in the White House, which is in Washington, D.C., which is the capital of the United States. And last but not least, we have the judicial branch. The judicial branch of the government is made up of the courts. Judges in the court make sure that laws are fair. Okay, so the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the United States, is made up of 9 justices that are appointed by the president. So the president chooses who he thinks would make good justices of the Supreme Court. But then Congress also has to agree with the president. So it's not just the president picking him. The Congress and the president have to agree on the choices. But once you're appointed a justice of the Supreme Court, your job is to make sure that the new laws that are passed by the legislative branch and that are signed into law by the executive branch, the judicial branch's job is to make sure those laws are fair and that they go along with the Constitution. Okay. The justice also decides cases between citizens of different states. So if there's a case from people from Texas are needing to have a court case heard against people from California, that case may go before the Supreme Court since the people involved in the case are from different states. The U.S. Constitution includes ways to make sure the 3 branches of government, the legislative, executive, and judicial branch, all work together, and this system is called checks and balances. This system of checks and balances ensures that not one branch has more power than the other, but that they all have to kind of work together and share power to make the best choices for our country. So, just as kind of a review to make sure we all are kind of getting a good understanding of the different branches of government and what each branch does, we're going to complete this chart, okay? So we're going to review it together, and then you guys are going to complete one on your own, okay? So just to review, the legislative branch, where do they do their job? They work in the U.S. Capitol, and here's what that looks like. Who makes up the legislative branch? Congress makes up the legislative branch. And if you remember, there's 2 parts of Congress. There's the House of Representatives and the Senate. The main job of the legislative branch is to vote on bills to make them into laws. Okay? The next branch is the executive branch. Where is the executive branch? Where do they do their job? In the White House. Who makes up the executive branch? President and vice president. Right now it's Donald Trump is our president. What are some of the important jobs of the executive branch? They make sure that laws are obeyed. They enforce the laws. Okay? We're also going to add that they lead the military. Okay, because that's another important job the president or the executive branch has. They're the leader of the military. I'm going to scooch these over so we can add this other one. And they represent the U.S. and other countries. Okay, so meaning they may travel to other countries in the world and meet with their leaders to try to find solutions to problems that affect the entire world, not just the United States. Last, we have the judicial branch, which is held in the United States Supreme Court building, which is what is pictured here. Who makes up the judicial branch? The Supreme Court is the highest court for our country, but the judicial branch includes the courts and the judges of our country. What are the important jobs of the judicial branch? They ensure that laws are constitutional. So if a new law is being voted on in Congress, The judicial branch has to look at that law and make sure that it follows the Constitution. They make sure that new laws are fair for everyone. Okay, so that's just a brief summary of our three branches of government. Okay, and we know that the Constitution established a system of checks and balances where all three branches have to work together and share the power to make our government function the right way, and so that way they're making choices that are really in the best interest of everyone, and not just one group or one person has all the power. Because okay, so again, these three branches of government share power, they work together, each branch kind of gets to check on the other one and make sure that they agree with what the other branch is doing, the decisions that are being made. And if they don't agree, they have power to kind of check it and go back and revisit things to make sure that new laws are being passed, new decisions being made are in the best interests of the citizens of the United States. So using this chart, you guys are going to complete a sorting activity. Here it is. Okay, you're going to look at the bottom of the page, just like we looked at in the chart, and you can actually go back to this page in the video and pause it if you need to for reference. You look at the bottom. Tell me who makes up each branch. Tell me where each branch does their job. And tell me what each branch's important job is. So for example, the legislative branch. Who makes up the legislative branch? Well, we would say Congress does, which is the House of Representatives and the Senate. So we would find those and glue that in here. Where is the legislative branch? Where do they do their job? At the U.S. Capitol, and here's what that building looks like. Okay, so I would find that picture and glue it here. And what is the main important job the legislative branch has? They create new laws. That's what we said here in this chart. So we would find that below and glue it in this column. So you're sorting all the items below to the correct branch of government that they represent.